Hi, guys. I am Dr. Angie, and I want to welcome you to Dr. Angie Live. Um, I'm finding it interesting because I'm usually not nervous at all when I do these things. I've been doing them for a while, but today's topic is how the Davis program saved my son and me. So it's personal, and it's just interesting in how it's making me feel. But I'm excited that you're here, and the reason I wanted to do this talk is because I know that, being a pediatrician, being a Davis facilitator, sometimes when I'm up there speaking, I can seem like I've got my stuff all together and I know this stuff and I'm the expert on this stuff. And when I'm talking about that, I am. But before all of this, I was where many, many of you are right now. So I remember how it felt. So I thought it would be important for me to just take a few minutes today and share my journey of how Davis changed our lives. So, my youngest boy, I have three boys. My youngest boy is 18, he turned 18 last month. And it was 9 years ago that we found the Davis program. But as you all know out there as parents, our struggle, and I get a little emotional with this, right? Because this is my life and my truth. Our struggle started way before then. So today, I'm not talking to you, pediatrician or facilitator to parent. I'm talking mama to mama, parent to parent, heart to heart. So hopefully, you find hope where I found hope, is what I'm hoping for you today. So, our struggle started around when my youngest one was around 4 years old. And I remember I had two older kids, so I knew how to do this thing. And I knew that they were uh, excelling in school. So we thought that we were doing really well. And then we had our third kiddo who was phenomenal, so smart, high vocabulary, was inventing things on a daily basis, bright boy. But around the age of 4, when I started to work with him with letters, they weren't going in. And I remember thinking, there's something going on. There's something different. And is it me? Is it him? What is it? And just in the, because of the short amount of time we have today, I'm not going to get into the whole story, but just the feelings we were having in those first few years as he went from 4 years old and into preschool because we needed some help, and then into kindergarten, and through kindergarten being told, oh, he's so smart, but as far as his reading, he'll get better. But him being in the lower group, you know how they put him in the three different groups, and my little baby not understanding why he was in the lower group, and me not understanding what I could do. And through those years until we found the Davis program, those years between pre-K and up through fourth grade, really, where he was struggling, and I kept hearing the things that I think many of you are probably hearing. You're hearing the things like, oh, he'll catch up. Lots of kids are behind. Oh, he's real smart. He just needs to work harder. Maybe you should read to him more. What are you guys doing at home? And what people didn't seem to understand is that my little kiddo, who, when he was young, when he was 4, 5, and 6 years old, before he knew he had a problem with reading, he was creative, outgoing, talkative, excited, playful. And what I saw was my kid being squashed down, because in the school, every time we go to school, he would learn by what he saw and what he was told, that he was less than, that he wasn't as smart as, because he couldn't do these things other kiddos were doing. We ended up paying outside the school to get some private testing done because we weren't getting a lot of support from our school. They kept telling us, stop worrying, just work harder. And we were the people who, at his age, then around 8 years old, they were telling us it should be like 20 minutes of homework, and he was doing homework for 3 hours amongst the tears. This is my kiddo who was coming home, and as he would come home and we'd just break out the books and it was time to read or do something, he would just start to cry. I started to get the reports at his school he was putting his head down. He was crying because he realized pretty quickly that if he put his head down and he didn't participate, he got sent out of the room, either to the hallway or to the principal's office, and anywhere was better than where he was, right? So this little kid also would write just so tiny so people couldn't see that he couldn't spell. He didn't understand punctuation marks, couldn't capitalize things. So we weren't getting a lot of help from our school. And I was up late one night. And again, this is when he was 9, 8.5 years old. And I was scouring the internet many times I had done before, crying, 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 trying to find something for my boy, feeling like a failure, feeling like I was a horrible parent. And I ran somehow, and I can't remember whether I ran across a parent blog or whether I ran across the actual Davis website, dyslexia.com, but something clicked. I began to read through what the parents were saying, read through what they were talking about on the site, and it made sense. It resonated with me. They weren't just explaining to me why my son struggled to read, they were explaining to me why he was creative, why he was inventive, why he seemed so far ahead in so many ways and so far behind in other ways. The next day, I went out and got the book because Ronald Davis, who created all this, a brilliant dyslexic, autistic individual himself, had written a book called The Gift of Dyslexia. Went out and got it the next day at Barnes and Noble, opened the book up, basically couldn't put the book down because it described my kiddo to the T. He understood my kid. What he gave me in that book was the reasoning and logic. It made sense. Finally, someone was explaining to me why my gifted child was struggling, in these other areas of focus and reading. And it was so empowering. And the biggest thing I got in that moment was I got hope. There is hope. There's something that can be done. Everything I needed to do to work with my child was in the book. And I actually started to do some of this stuff. But because of our past history and me not understanding him and us kind of going at it like this, because I didn't understand why things were so hard for him, I took him to a program. And he did a 5-day program with a Davis facilitator, literally just 5 days, Monday through Friday. And the best thing was that my little kiddo, who was 9 years old, he was in 4th grade. He was reading at high 1st grade, low 2nd grade level. He had scored far below basic on the California state testing. By the 4th day, actually, he was reading at 3rd grade level. But most importantly, he told me that day, he said, Mom, I know I'm not dumb. I'm not stupid. I just learned differently. And if that's all we had gotten out of it, that would have been enough. There was no dollar amount that I could have put on that. What we paid was pennies, pennies based on what it has done to change our lives. So from that point on, my son had the tools and stuff that he needed to survive in the school system. So what ended up happening is that I had stopped working everything to help support my son and homeschooled for a little bit and everything. But I was able to go back to work and I decided to go back and become a Davis facilitator so I could get trained. Because being a pediatrician, there were lots of pediatricians out there, but there weren't enough people doing this. And as I engulfed into the Davis community and understood the reasoning and logic more, and then got licensed and began to work with kiddos with dyslexia, ADD, ADHD, and started to see kids on the autism spectrum and the brilliance that these kids are. And I realized very quickly that the information that was going on out there about who these kids were was not defining them the way they should be defined. It was not supporting their gifts and their assets. It was just looking at the difficulties they were having. And the philosophy that Davis had was so different and supportive and gives tools for these kiddos so that they can overcome all their obstacles and participate fully in life. And I went on to become a Davis Autism Approach facilitator and coach. And it's changed our lives, how I parent, how I look at these kiddos. It changed my mission in life from being in medicine as a pediatrician to being someone who is here to empower parents and educators and support people of individuals on the spectrum with autism or with dyslexia or with ADD or ADHD, and empowering those parents and those kiddos with non-pharmaceutical tools and knowledge to help them overcome their obstacles and participate fully in life. So this is my day to say thank you to Ronald Davis for doing what you do, being placed on this earth to help all these kiddos and their parents so we can all have a change. And we together as a community can create a paradigm shift in how we are seeing these kiddos. So fast forward to today, my kiddo, 18 years old, he is unschooling. He's a senior in high school. He can read anything he wants, whenever he wants. He reads contracts because he's a working paid concept artist. He has video game artist credit. He is absolutely amazing. Most importantly, he is doing what he was put on this earth to do. He is participating fully in life and he is happy. So thank you. I hope this helps someone. Love you guys. Keep it simple. Until next time.